Let's podcast alongside Joe Giglio. I'm Joe Ovies inside Eford Studios in downtown Raleigh. Thanks to Empire Properties and thanks to Copiers Plus. Check them out online at copiers-plus.com. Folks, the deadline is Wednesday. 40 years of Copiers Plus, 40 organizations, $500 each. If you have a deserving organization that you would like Copiers Plus to donate money to this year for their 40th anniversary, go to copiers-plus.com/40 years of caring. Put dashes in between 40 years of caring. Or if you're watching on YouTube, just pause it and put your camera up on that QR code and you'll be good to go. Guy like Duke is good to go for the rest of this regular season. We are officially on, will they go undefeated in conference play? Watch how good can they be? Are they a national title contender? Can they run with the big dogs? Are they the big dogs? And of course, on the Carolina side, where do they go from here? What crossroads have they reached? These are all your typical storylines. So I thought we could start today, Joe, by kind of having slept on it for the last 2 days after the immediate reaction of the After Dark on YouTube, which if you don't want to watch it on YouTube, I put it on OG Fans.
Nice.
Go to ogtrianglemedia.com if you just want the podcast version of the After Dark. So now that you've had a couple of sleeps on it, theoretically, because I know your sleep patterns are weird. Anything you want to revisit? Anything you want to readdress, revise? Maybe a little too reactionary on Saturday night. Maybe it was nailed. Your thoughts?
No, that was Duke's fastball. And, after the way that they had played against State, I think it's important. Coaches talk about this a lot, that they can get their players' attention pretty easily after a loss.
Mm-hmm.
But it's harder when you still win and get away with it. And that's what separates good from great. When you're great, you can take a win in a performance like they had against NC State and realize the flaws in them and learn from them, even in a win. For when you're good, you kind of look at a loss and you're reacting game to game.
Yeah.
So I thought the way that they played as a whole, particularly in the first half of that basketball game, was dominant. That's as good as you're going to see them play. It's 40-13 and you're going, whew,
yeah.
And now the flip side of that is it's 40-13 and you're on the Carolina side and you're going, okay, we just saw their fastball, but what does that say about us?
Mm-hmm.
That we can't even stay within 25 points of them in the first 7 minutes of a basketball game over here in a place where Hubert Davis has had success against the team that he's had success against in the biggest game of the season. And you saw Duke's freshmen react the way that they did, just as I predicted they would. And where were Carolina's 5-star freshmen?
Right.
Where were they?
Right.
Like, this is the same moment for them. They were in the same spot.
And they were quiet.
Cooper Flagg and Con Knipple were, walking into that building going, this is the reason why we came here. And they did not perform at all. And Carolina just looks completely lost to me.
Yeah.
I know Hubert tried to give it we still have our best basketball in front of you.
I still believe in this team.
Yeah. Technically correct.
Yeah.
But they're done. They're done.
It's interesting. I was talking to somebody about this after the game and the attitude that they took about Hubert's response, where he went out of his way to say, look, I still believe in this team. And that's what coaches need to say.
They should.
That's what coaches need to say publicly. That's what you need to say. But there was also an element, because I went and watched it. I watched the press conference. There was an element of Hubert understanding the heat is real right now. So not only does he have to say that the team believes in him, but also there has to be an establishment of they still believe in what I'm doing too, right? So there's a little bit of that that's going on here. So after kind of sleeping on it and getting away from the immediate reaction, I was trying to think to myself, like, why are we here with Carolina and Hubert Davis as though a blowout in this series means something in the grand scheme? It's not like Roy Williams didn't have instances where he got his ass handed to him by Duke. It's happened.
Not like this.
Yes, it has. It actually has happened. I want to say it was, I don't have it in front of me, but it was like, was it 2010 that happened? Anyway, I couldn't remember exactly when it was, but I know there's been, because I remember this happened in 22 when Carolina was getting crushed by Coach K in Chapel Hill. And I remember all these people.
It wasn't 40-13, Joe.
But you understand what I'm saying. There's been blowouts.
That's a different level.
But here's my thing.
That's a different level.
Here's my thing, though. What makes it a different level? What makes it different? That's what I'm trying to process.
Because it's so rare.
It is rare, but my point is it has happened within the series. That's my point. but why is it absorbed when it's Roy and why it's not Hubert? Well, I think
the obvious 2010 for sure.
Well, I'm trying to remember what year it was off the top of my head. You can go look it up. In fact, actually, I think I know who did it because I was going through the sports phone calls. So let's go ahead and do it because I think Sean, who likes to heel splain us all the time.
82-50 2010.
Okay. So I was right.
Yeah.
So there you go. My point stands. But the difference is, and this is why I get to why it feels different and why there's heat. Throughout the ebbs and flows of the rivalries, as we've discussed before, I'm not going to go through it again. There have been reactions to where the other is. So when Coach K has said they're a better program than us right now, it meant, okay, this established Hall of Famer now has the runway to change it up. And they did. Just like with Roy, all right, we got our ass handed to us. We thought we were running away with this. We're not. So let's reassess. Let's go. There's ebbs and flows to it. But those are two Hall of Famers we're talking about. Okay? With Hubert, it's not there. He doesn't have decades of work to go back to say, hey, man, I know I'm going to get through this. And I think that's why there's this level of heat. And what Carolina fans have experience with in this grand scheme of things is instances where you knew this guy ain't it, right? So there's Guthridge. Even though he went to 2 Final Fours, people saw the big picture with Bill Guthridge. With Matt Doherty, that's self-explanatory. So Hubert's somewhere in that middle. I think Hubert is more on the Bill Guthridge level of, yes, you had the sweep of them last year and you were the number 1 seed. Yes, you had your first year and you took out Coach K and you went to the Final Four and lost in the championship game to Kansas. However, much like Bill Guthridge, people can see the big picture. So the question going forward and why I think there's this heat is whether or not Hubert is down to adapt with where things are going. That's why it feels the way it feels, even though we have seen instances of blowouts in this rivalry.
This box score will bring back some memories for you.
Oh, 2010? Like. Yes, please do. Since we're in the memory train, thanks to the Basketball Jones on Friday.
Well, I completely blacked out the Ware twins. Only one played in this game for some reason, though.
By the way, the Ware twins, they're famous because Roy never had transfers. And these guys transferred. Man. And then that's when he stopped going California, right?
Yeah. I was just about to say the Alex Thompson and then, or Alex, what was it? Stevenson.
Yes.
And then the Wares and Larry Drew, they were all from California and they were his only transfers.
All gone. All gone.
You were the Ware twins. Will Graves played 23 minutes, went 0 for 6. Will Graves, the one who got arrested for the pot living in Roy's garage.
In the governor's club, right? The house he never used. Going into the Wayback Machine.
This box score. Woo.
So that's just to say, that, again, it gets back to why it feels the way that it feels going forward. But
yeah, but to your point, by that point, Roy had two national
championships,
yeah.
Right? So, but it becomes a more looking within, like, all right, what's the Hall of Famer going to do to adapt, as opposed to, all right, well, what direction does Carolina want to go in? So let's go back to the sports phone. I feel like we've got a trio of this really did turn into UNC therapy, a little Tar Heel therapy for you.
919-444-2211. Call the OG Sports Phone and curse or don't.
Of course, the sports phone is brought to you by Nature's Relief. Check them out, naturesreliefhempstore.com, RELEAF hempstore.com. I feel like our UNC friends were probably hitting Nature's Relief for the good stuff after Saturday.
Good morning, boys. It's not such a good day to be a Tar Heel. That was an awful effort, or lack thereof. When I saw them come out so flat during introductions, I knew it was going to be a bad game. I've never seen them play so flat, so that they didn't care, disorganized. I don't even know. I don't know what's going to happen. You shouldn't have to coach heart. You can't coach size, but you shouldn't have to coach heart. And I think that Hubert's lost the locker room there. But anyway, at least they played like they cared. I'll catch your show later, guys. Take care.
All right, this is from Paul.
Hey guys, it's Paul. You know, I'm thinking we here in the Triangle are in our Empire Strikes Back era. Unfortunately, you know, the Angry Orange is in the White House. Duke is the national title contender and most people's favorite. Even us UNC fans have to pretend like we're happy that we have to root for Darth Vader running our football program. But you know, a new hope will spring eternal at some point, And until then, you sort of have to enjoy your community and the things around you. And I'd like to thank my newborn son for giving me a reason to be happy and smile on Saturday night, no matter what went down in Durham. So, sometimes when things are just not going your way, get out and touch the grass of life. Peace.
Yes, go out and touch grass. And if you need other kind of grass, go to Nature's Relief, Joe.
I appreciate that perspective.
Yes.
I see what he did there too with a New Hope.
I see what he did there as well. Very, very deep Star Wars lore. All right, here's Sean to heel-splain us.
Hey, Joes. Sean here. For the game last night, I think it's pretty simple. They're better, and they played really well. We're not as good, and we played poorly. But really, I just want to defend Hubert once again, because looking back on history, I think some Carolina fans seem to think it's been all Final Fours and rainbows for 80 years. I think it's entirely impossible to expect and want better and being angry and worried while also recognizing the highs that Hubert has had at a time with difficulties that are outside of his control that could be rectified. He's not playing with a full deck. Shire, Self, Calipari, these guys are. And as y'all have discussed, there are factors currently working against Carolina that have somewhat nullified their inherent advantages. I do hope with the settlement, how settlement goes through, those advantages can shine through a little bit more. But mainly I want to address something I saw Mark Ennis say about UNC spending all this money on Belichick and football while getting pounded by Duke is the ultimate losing your soul moment. And I just don't think that's fair. In December, UNC administrators decided to go all in for football, whether or not I agree with how they chose to do so. If that moment is going to come for basketball, it's going to be in March of this year. Ironically, until this year, Hubert may have had too much success and let the powers that be think they can still not go all in money-wise and have high levels of success. I think Doc Kennedy at Tar Heel Tribune said it well when he said UNC has long produced Cadillac results with Chevy money, not because they don't have the money, but because they've been able to get away with doing it and still succeed. I hope they realize it needs to change, and they realize that with Hubert still as the head coach. They came to that conclusion for football. Hopefully next month they come to that conclusion with basketball. And as Theo said, for moving forward, they got NIL, and it ain't happening again. Thanks.
Now, you can say it ain't happening again, but then it gets back to, do you have the coach and the staff that will make that go? And I think that's still up in the air right now.
I think there's some confusion too. Like Carolina had $5 million this year in their NIL budget. It's not like they didn't have money.
Right.
It's getting back to my point. There's some years you're going to miss. And to your point, last year, Duke missed and still made the Final Eight. Now, that's tremendous bracket luck. Like, could we just acknowledge it was tremendous bracket luck?
But you got to get over bracket luck.
I'm not going to.
You got to get over it.
I'm not going to.
Okay.
So
you still got to go out there and win. A lot of teams get bracket luck and they get beat. There's a reason why bracket luck unfolds, because teams that were supposed to handle their shit.
But what I'm getting at is their roster was flawed last year.
Yeah.
Just the same way this Carolina roster is flawed.
Sure.
Duke learned from it. Carolina's the one that has to learn from it now, too. Carolina's been in the portal, 3 times now? And has come up once with Manic and twice with Ingram.
Yes.
So 4 times. So they've been four portal years, right? 1 of them, Manic. Don't forget, Dawson Garcia leaving the team is what unlocked Manic. Yeah. Which is actually a mark against Hubert, but you still give him credit for getting Manic.
Sure.
Nance was a miss. Last year with Ingram and Cormac Ryan, that was a make. This year was a miss. So that's college basketball now. Like, this Carolina's in a different spot than State. Like, Carolina has an NIL budget.
Right.
Carolina's more of like in the Louisville category this year, where they had the money, they made choices, but sometimes you choose, sometimes you miss.
Yeah.
It happens.
Yeah.
It's no different than drafting a quarterback in the first round in the NFL. Sometimes you get the right guy. Sometimes it's Cam Newton. Sometimes it's Bryce Young.
Yeah, it's a 50-50 proposition.
Sometimes it's Gary Collins.
Every time we talk about the ACC, it's brought to you by our friends over at Keller Williams. The Donnelly team, triangleNCcommercial.com is the website. You can call them directly at 919-616-8681. Do not call with sports phone like craziness.
Mm-hmm.
Call because you need commercial real estate. Call because you need a space for your business. That's why you call. You call us to vent and then chill.
Right.
You call them
To
for
get
your
help.
space.
Yes.
That's what it's all about. So check them out, trianglencommercial.com. Speaking of the sports phone, let's wrap up this segment with the Duke perspective, because I thought this was interesting and it ties back to an event that we had on Friday night.
Hey guys, Duke fan Jake here. Wanted to ask your opinion about some surprising, maybe not so surprising behavior from noted Carolina graduate and Knicks influencer worldwide Rob Perez, who before the game tweeted out the classic Caleb Love photo from 2022. No context. After the game, someone asked, "No tweet about Carolina tonight, Rob." And he says, quote, "I feel only apathy in victory or defeat. Duke could win every game for the rest of our lives. Nothing can nor will make up for what happened to them on April 2nd, 2022. The war is over." End quote. Is the war over? Are Carolina fans going to be coping like this for the rest of eternity? I love it. I love it. I love it. I want more of it. It's extremely pathetic. Rent-free. They care more about beating us and making us feel miserable than winning themselves. That is the median Carolina fan. Not all Carolina fans, but the median Carolina fan hates Duke more than they love their own program. And I just feel like there's a lot of proof of that. Curious for your thoughts. Thanks, and go Duke.
I absolutely love that call, and I agree with that call. The war is not over. This actually segues us nicely into the Basketball Jones on Friday night. Shout out to everybody who showed up to the Rialto on Friday night. Big thanks to Scott Wood, Broughton head coach.
Yeah.
Lavelle Moten, Central head coach. Yet again, you and I providing for the people somebody that, damn, they're really good. So like the podcast festival was like, damn, I didn't know Debbie brought it like that. Oh no, Debbie brings it like that. Same with Lavelle Moten. Like, man, I mean, I knew Lavelle, but dang, he's got stories. I go, yes, wind him up and go. He's amazing. Lavelle's awesome like that. And then, of course, Tyler Hansbrough and Marcus Ginyard showing up, hanging out with Bomani Jones and Rodimus Prime on Twitter.
He's amazing.
He's a piece of work, man. He's great. He's great. But during the segment that you and I had with Bomani, and it was great to be back in the same room with Bomani, chopping it up again like we would in radio or whatever it was. So that was a lot of fun. They were in full-on cope mode, if you will. That it doesn't matter what happens on Saturday. It doesn't matter what happens with Duke. It's over 2022. We sent that guy packing. And I said to Rod, I said, respectfully, that was the first time I've ever met Rod in person. I've only known Rod through social media for 15, 20 years or whatever it is, right? And I said, Rod, respectfully, man, I don't know you, but that's the most NC State fan shit I have ever heard coming out of a Carolina fan. And he's like, I don't care. I am unbothered. Carolina fans are very much unbothered by all this. And I don't believe you.
Yeah, I don't
believe you.
I don't either.
I don't believe that shit for a second. That is a level of cope that you just won't own. Oh, no, it doesn't matter what happens. 2022. Oh, Coach K. Bullshit.
Now, Bo's not a Carolina fan.
He's a Duke
Bo's
hater.
a Duke hater.
He's a Duke hater.
Now, I can understand a Duke hater saying,
yes.
and I wish he would, for my sake, add in and you lost to State the next year. Like, those are two starchy fucking losses.
I agree.
You know what I mean?
I agree with you on that.
Now, you know the game I love to play. Would you trade those two starchy losses for a national championship? I think I would. Because Carolina didn't win the national championship.
Mm-hmm.
State didn't win the national championship. So if you're telling me you're going to eat these two losses and in the two single biggest stages, 2 years out of 3, but you're going to pay it off with a Cooper Flag title in 25, I think I take the title.
Every single time.
I think I take the title.
Every single time, because we've been told for decades, the standard is this.
The titles.
Titles.
And now you're seeing my UConn. Thank you.
Titles is the
Thank
standard.
you.
Beating you along the way is fantastic, but the titles also add to us beating you.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So,
and now you get into the, you haven't won one since 17. We got one in 25.
So once again, it's a level of cope that I don't think Carolina fans are ready to admit.
They got to pay it off, though.
Well, this is true. No,
You
you're
know
right
what
about
I mean?
this.
Like,
You're right about
and
this.
the way that they played on Saturday suggests to me, with the way Tyrese Proctor played, that they can pay it off.
I agree.
That was the first time all year I looked at it and said, okay, I see your path
I agree.
to the national championship.
Totally agree.
Housekeeping.
Big thanks to our friends at Enovana. Check them out online at enovana.com. Joe, you'll be happy to know they are coming to the house tomorrow.
If you have mess inside your mansion or trash in your cabana, get it clean with Enovana.
Enovana.com is the website. We've got our Sully's Golf and Gather event this Wednesday. We're just hitting you with all sorts of events. Great times. We just came off the Basketball Jones at the Rialto. Wednesday, we've got Sully's Golf and Gather. If you want to participate, $15 for the closest to pin and longest drive. There will be prizes, Joe.
There will be. Here's what we're reenacting. You ready?
Yeah.
This is the same hole from TPC.
Oh, is that from TPC?
Scottsdale.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Tiger. Good job. That's the goal.
Okay.
We won't throw the beers, though.
Gotcha.
How about that? We
Gotcha.
won't throw the beers, but I promise that's what our goal will be. That's the 16th hole. It's par 3. That's what we're going for.
So I have put a rush order on some OG golf hats.
I know.
These,
and
they've got the white,
really spectacular.
the white rope. It's a blue hat, white rope, dead conference logo, the circle logo.
And we're gonna have hats proper like, not access, but proper like.
Oh, very proper. We're very
coming
official
up soon
in
to
2025.
get you ready for the ACC tournament in Charlotte.
But this is all part of the marketing budget, Joe.
It is.
So this will be for Wednesday. For not only are there cash prizes for closest to pin,
Yeah.
and the longest drive, each winner will get one of these hats.
Whoa.
Each winner will get one of these hats.
Whoa.
And I know that you might bring a +1 that might not be participating in the golf base. That's cool. Come hang out.
Oh, they got food and drinks.
Food, drinks, all kind of stuff.
Yep.
We will have a raffle for a third hat. Ooh, that leaves us with 7 hats. But you get one, I get one. That means we're left with 5 hats. What do you want to do with the remaining 5?
Well, we would still be in access mode then.
Interesting.
Might have to hold on to those.
Interesting that there might be access mode for those 5 other hats. Just saying.
I can't be completely official.
Just saying. Anyway, so come join out. Email Giglio, giglio.joe@gmail.com, or you can email theoggoesdigital@gmail.com to make that work.
Yeah, 6:30. We'll be out there by 6. Start up at 6:30. Have the bay. We have 3 bays for 2 hours, so it'll be a good time.
Now, of course, as we always have access to things, like speaking of the dead conference, I'm wearing the hoodie today from Breaking Tea. Go to breakingtea.com/OG. That's breakingtea.com/OG if you want some Ovies and Giglio merch, like hoodies, t-shirts, all that kind of fun stuff. It's all there for you. And you're thinking, oh man, guys, we're coming out of the holidays. I got like hockey camps I got to save up for. I got to watch my money. You know what? Free up some money by contacting our friend Matt Davis over at State Farm. TheOGinsurance.com, InsureGarner.com, or call him directly at 919-779-8277. Call up Matt Davis and say, hey, look, can you save me money on home and auto so I can buy Ovies and Giglio merch?
Yeah, and Matt will be there on Wednesday because it's in Garner.
I love that. And maybe you've already purchased some merch. Maybe you're looking at some other goods, like our friends at Roback. Save money and then use that money to buy Roback stuff, and save money when you go to Roback.
And use our promo code
by using OG20, the promo code to get 20% off your order. They're dropping new polos all the time. They've got new colorways for their gym shorts. It's all there at roback.com, RHOBACK.com. Use that promo code OG20. And of course, our friends at Whitaker and Hamer. Speaking of the G, WH.lawyer is the website. We got more events coming up. My mom actually asked me, it's like, hey, when's your birthday again? It's May 3rd. Are you going to go back to that bar?
We will.
Shady's? Yes, we will, Mom. So in the meantime, if you have any sort of legal needs, go to WH.lawyer.
Guy. Actually love Kevin Keats.
I'm gonna have Brooke
wish I
answer.
didn't.
I'm gonna have Brooke answer for her
If it was Duke, I'd
her people.
put since
Answer for my people.
Answer for your Tar Heels, your fans. Anyway, all right, let's do this. Joining us in studio on the Heister Automotive Group hotline, our friend Brooke Pryor. ESPN covers the Pittsburgh Steelers, but at the end of the day, she's just a local gal who wants to think about the good old days with Carolina. That's why she went to the Sports Podcast Festival Basketball Jones event on Friday night.
True. It was like therapy. It was therapy ahead of what I knew was going to be bad. I needed those good vibes. I needed Bo telling me the rivalry doesn't matter anymore. It ended. I needed that reinforcement so that I wasn't distraught and so that I felt comfortable moving the game from the big screen to my phone for the second half and replacing what was on the big screen.
Ooh. I'm just glad that you were able to get over the fact that 2 NC State grads were attached to this event and you still had a good time.
I did. It was a difficult thing to stomach, but I've had to stomach that about you guys for a long time. So it's nothing new.
Can you help us out with this, by the way? Like I feel like I need therapy now.
Because you found out people don't like you?
No. That's not it.
I was going to say like that can't be a new thing either.
Brooke. That is not trust me. We all know you do this long enough. We all have haters.
That's true.
Straight up, we all have haters.
And Kendrick Lamar is a hater and he got all these Grammys. So like it's cool to be a hater right now and to be hated.
Yeah. And also I understand the placement in hateration. You know, I'm just a dude in sports media. We're a dime a dozen. You're a woman in sports media. You get it to a whole different level.
Yeah.
So I get there's
tiers.
There's stratification to this.
Yeah.
Totally understand this. No, I need you to help me understand why it is, despite the fact that we've been doing this for a very long time, and Giglio is sourced up at Carolina. It's not like he's talking to a brick wall in Chapel Hill. He is sourced up. Why is it that there's a subset of Carolina fans that just outright dismiss anything we do with the Tar Heels?
Okay, but it's like, you know, when you're talking trash about your family or you're like I have a little sister, right? It's okay for me to say, oh, I don't like this thing that she did. I don't like XYZ, her hair, nails, makeup, whatever, which by the way, Grace, you look great if you're watching this. This is not like a recent example. But the second that one of my friends says, oh yeah, I didn't like that, then I get like defensive.
Like, hold up.
Yeah, like, no. They're my family. I can talk bad about my family. Not an outsider can't talk bad about my family. And you guys are technically outsiders, so.
I went to a school for 4 freaking years.
Yeah, and that defined your whole life.
What? I don't understand this.
What do you mean you don't understand this?
No, I'm kidding. I do understand. I'm being facetious.
What's that? What's all these things behind you guys? You understand it.
These are all things that tie everybody together. But the point is,
the ties that bind.
We can all come together at the Rialto and have a good time.
We can, and I loved it. It was very cathartic. I really liked Scott Wood. I'm not gonna lie. When he walked in and I saw him, I didn't recognize him at first. I think it was Chip Patterson was like, "Hey, Scott," and I was like, that's Scott Wood. Well, and then I saw Giglio go to dap him up and I was like, that's definitely Scott Wood.
Yeah.
And my initial instinct was to sneer. And then I was like, nope, you're better than that. You don't have to be like that.
Yeah.
So I was proud of myself for pulling it back in. I thought it was great. I had not seen the Duke Basketball Museum clip that Bo did when Kay retired. I've sent it to so many people and they've all been like, yeah, we know, we saw it.
Yeah. But you weren't alone in that. Yeah. I actually had asked Dimitri, like, of the people in the building, how many do you think had actually seen that video before? He's like, probably 20% of the people had actually 100%. Seen it. But it also was better, too, when you have a live audience around reacting to it as well, because that was the issue with the segment. The first go around, they didn't have a live audience. So it didn't quite hit. But when people are laughing, it was a really good time. But yeah, man, you know, even if you're a Carolina fan, chances are Giglio's going to hand you brown liquor. So again, I don't see what the problem is.
That he will.
Right? So come on down. Have a good time. Giglio's got brown liquor.
I mean, the thing that bonded us all that night was the hatred of Duke. Like that. And that is the real tie that binds. And that felt really great. I needed that. I needed to feel that reinforcement. And I think the highlight for me was Bomani saying, like, you know, this brand of Duke guys, like, you can't hate them as much. Like, you can't even hate Shire as much. And then Marcus Ginyard gets up there and he's like, no, you can absolutely hate him as much. Like, did you see the faces he made? Like, he is just as hateable. And I thought, yes, thank you. I have thought that for a long time. I needed to hear a Carolina basketball player say that to feel validated in my hatred.
How do you feel about Saturday night, by the way? We've been doing a little Tar Heel therapy today from the sports phone, and I know I kind of strategically timed this so that you'd be in studio today to kind of talk it out.
Yeah. So I went to the Pitt game earlier in the week.
Mm-hmm.
The first half of the Pitt game was great until the last 2 minutes, and then it fell apart. The second half was atrocious. And the first half of the Duke game looked like the second half of the Pitt game. It was the most stagnant offense. This is one of the most frustrating Carolina teams I can remember watching.
Mm-hmm.
In everything from the body language to the offense they're running to the substitution patterns. I don't feel the fight. And I know that that's been a constant criticism of this team, and I get it. I think for a lot of the season, I went into self-preservation mode and was like, I'm not going to pay attention to this team because I don't need that mental stress.
Yeah.
And now that the Steelers season is over, unfortunately, I have been able to pay more attention to this team. And I don't know how people who've watched every game this year do it, because
sickos.
I hold my breath every offensive possession until they start to drive the lane, and then it inevitably goes terribly wrong. And then I can't even exhale. I just hold my breath again. So I'm giving myself apnea watching games. It is bad for my mental and physical health. It's terrible.
I only wish that I had saved a 2024 ACC tournament runner-up cup for you.
I'm sure you do.
I'm sure you wish it.
Yeah.
I know you were there.
I was there. I walked out so that day, fun fact.
Russ, right?
No, that was Justin Fields. I walked into dinner with a friend, got a phone call that Justin Fields was being traded for, and had to literally turn and run back to my hotel to write the story.
That's crazy.
Yep.
Against all odds, we made it into the building, I think by tip-off. Actually, we might have been a little bit late, and I believe UNC was already down at that point.
Okay.
When we finally left, I walked out right behind Roy Williams, and my friend that I was with was like, oh my gosh, there's Roy, we should go say hi. And I was like, no, don't. This man is going through it. Please, let's not. I simply can't be responsible for holding, I want to get out of here. I can't imagine how badly he wants to get out of here. So yeah, I have long thought that I might be a jinx to UNC athletics teams when I'm in the building.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I could be on Mars watching this basketball team and they'd still lose. This is beyond me.
Or as Roy would like to say, buildings don't win games. Roy doesn't believe in that. Play the game in Alaska.
Yeah.
Yes.
You could
Or
play
Mars.
Parking lot in Siberia, and this team is still going to take an L.
All right. Let's transition to the NFL and the Super Bowl. You're headed up to New Orleans this week. And I guess
happier times, New Orleans, where Carolina beat Duke in the Final Four.
Yes,
you can
they
think
did.
about that. Go into the building.
And I will.
You can pay homage to what happened in
Take a
2022.
picture in the tunnel where the golf cart was. There you go. See? And you're back.
And I'm back. And just like that, we're going to reminisce on the good old days.
This could be because I did an interview with Matt Norlander and Stephen Hartzell for College Sports Now. And I usually use Norlander as my national college basketball media punching bag. He understands that's the case. And I feel like we've gotten to a point where some of us are a little too jaded by what we've seen over the years, right? So there was this general dismissive attitude of the Carolina Duke game because of, well, Carolina's not very good. And no, when Calipari is going back to Kentucky, I mean, that's way more important. I'm like, it's a one-off thing. Arkansas still sucks. Moving on with our lives, right?
And
yet they still beat Kentucky. I mean, again, a cool one-off, right? And like, well, what is there really to talk about Duke Carolina? I think to myself, how jaded are you that you're not looking at Duke as dominant as they were in the Cooper flag angles and where do they go from here? And obviously the existential crisis that's playing out in Chapel Hill. Like, there's plenty of storylines to pick apart out of a Duke Carolina game that theoretically didn't have a lot of buzz going into it, right?
Yeah.
I'm extending this now to the NFL, where we're going into the Super Bowl, and the general attitude is, oh, this shit again? I'm thinking to myself, we're on the precipice of history.
Yeah.
And the general attitude is, get those assholes out of here.
Yeah. My husband, when the Chiefs won, he turned and looked at me and said, "This should be the least watched Super Bowl in the history of the game." And he works for the Sporting News, and he was like,
Yeah.
if I didn't have to work the game, I would not watch it.
So what am I missing with the Chiefs? Like, is there's this, I understood it with the Patriots,
Right.
Because you had Bill Belichick and Tom Brady, Deflategate, Spygate. There's Boston fans being Boston fans. I'm not quite following where we are on this Chiefs hate, as though there's some sort of evil empire here.
But that's the thing. That's what I think is interesting. And I'd say I've done a lot of reading, but I haven't. I've watched a lot of TikToks on this.
I mean, that
and
is the equivalent of reading in 2025.
It is. It is. My attention span is shot.
Yeah.
But someone made the point that the Patriots embraced being evil. Like they liked the evil empire thing. And they went about things very covertly, obviously Spygate, but like they were not in your face the same way, right? They kind of felt like hired assassins, just like they'd come in out of nowhere, not even out of nowhere, but like they just were there and evil, and everyone could embrace and hate them. The Chiefs are evil in the fact that they keep winning, but they cosplay as the good guys, and the country doesn't think that they're the good guys because they keep winning. Like they have this, they're trying to act like they're good, right?
But where are they bad?
I think it's
like Travis Kelce's just a bro who's dating Taylor Swift.
But like it's like
Patrick
the
Mahomes.
overexposure of them is what people hate. And like, okay, first of all, it's a lot. I think it's easier to hate when people are happy
Okay.
in some ways.
So yeah, so
And-
when you see Taylor Swift like looking into Travis's eyes on the field, and then it's like like so schmoopy, you're like, I hate that. I
yes,
get
and you
that.
keep seeing it, and it's the overexposure
Yeah.
of it. Like the Patriots, there was a lot of exposure.
There's a ton of exposure.
But it was also a very different time. Like TikTok wasn't a thing. Twitter was kind of a thing. Like
Sure.
They weren't in commercials the same way. This is like, you have to see them everywhere. Like Andy Reid is saying fumble Rooski how many times, or bundle Rooski, whatever it is. Like
Ruski, yes.
And I really like Andy Reid as a person. I like a lot of people in the Chiefs organization as people, but I get it. Like it feels exhausting. There is just this, you see Patrick Mahomes every time you turn around, he's in a new commercial. I remember when I was covering the Chiefs in 2018, right? It was his first MVP season. The league and the country as a whole was taking notice of him. And my dad thought it was so novel to walk into a Walmart in Spindale, North Carolina, and see a cutout of Patrick Mahomes selling Oakleys.
Yeah.
Like he would take a picture of it and send it to me and be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe there's a Patrick Mahomes cutout here. And now it's like surprising if there's not a Patrick Mahomes cutout everywhere. Like I feel like people have this perception, and I think it's pretty right, that they're being forced into this Chiefs fandom. And it's kind of infringing on everything else. It's, you've been a long time fan of a team, and now all of a sudden it feels like the Chiefs are just everywhere and you can't be in your own fandom.
The officials are a thing too.
Yeah.
Whether you want to put stock into it or not, the officials are a thing too.
Well, I feel like we are making it a thing. I think we've got a lot of gambler brain.
No, it is gambling.
Well, the gambling brain, definitely.
There's a gambler brain.
No, I know.
because
That's part of it.
Nick Wright, this was part of his podcast, not Fox Sports 1. What's Right with Nick Wright is the podcast. People who listen to us understand that I'm a huge fan of Nick Wright. I think he's one of the guys who gets where all this stuff is going. And Nick made a really good point, because I couldn't put my mindset in there because I don't have gambler brain. But Nick very much has gambler brain and owns it. Much like you, Joe.
Yeah, they've covered like 3 times this whole year.
So
that's a quick way to get people mad at you.
So there's that, but there's also
real quick way.
But in Nick's gambler brain about this whole idea that the officials are in on Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs and all this other kind of stuff, it's like, okay, well then why do you keep betting against them? Like, for instance, like, oh, I got the Bills and the points. Rigged. Okay, well, I got this and the points. Rigged. Okay, well, if it's all rigged, if you think it's just a foregone conclusion, then why do you keep betting against your own interest at this point, right? So there's that. And also, I do think that the framing of this stuff is also curious, because again, gambler brain and social media brain rot, where you see all these people talking about it, so you want in on it. So you start to tweet out stuff that could easily be misconstrued, or you're just throwing logs onto the fire because like, oh man, I know this is going to get the people going. I'm just going to throw this out there. I'm just giving you numbers, like those kind of things. But I can also give you the numbers where I think Mike Tanier over at Substack laid it out. Like, okay, let's go look of this run with the Chiefs where not he went back to 2021, which was like, that's when you would start to go, all right, what's up with the Chiefs? Historically, the Chiefs are not getting any sort of benefit of the doubt. So that's issue number one. And then you also have the issue like Tom Brady. Like I have a big problem with Tom Brady complaining about quarterbacks getting the benefit of the doubt. As buddy, you were able to play as long as you did, not because of the water you were drinking or the fact that you didn't eat strawberries. It's because you also were protected as a quarterback.
Right.
So, and that's the other thing too. We all know that in order for the league to be what it is, the quarterbacks have to be protected.
Yeah.
They gave the game away in how they've main character energy and all this stuff. The lead up, the promotional stuff from the NFL is the quarterbacks' faces as though we're watching Travolta and what's his face in Face Off. Okay. Nick Cage. I mean, that's how they presented it.
Yeah.
So if we all understand this is the business, well, of course, Patrick Mahomes is going to get protected in the same way that these other quarterbacks will get protected. So I'm just really at a loss as to how we got here.
I mean, it's two different kind of biases, right? It's confirmation bias because you're looking for it because now that, you know, there's a narrative that the Chiefs are getting all the calls. So you're looking for them to get the calls. So when they do, all of a sudden everyone can be like, oh my gosh, see, look, I mean, when you're keeping an eye out like that, it does seem like it's more prevalent. There's also, I think, some implicit bias from the officials because in the same way that like George Pickens is getting a lot of unsportsmanlike conduct flags because officials are looking for it, right? And this isn't just like something that's happening this year with Patrick Mahomes. It's years of history that, you know, once he starts getting a couple favorable calls, I think that and again, it's not intentional on the officials, but when you see someone officiated a certain way, it just builds and builds and builds, and it's a momentum thing. It's not anything that it's rigged. It's just the same way that certain defenders get DPIs called against them more than others because officials watch officiating tape, everything else. I mean, that's just the way it works. You get a certain reputation, you are officiated a certain way, and it just kind of happens. But it's not, I don't think officials are necessarily going out of their way to protect Patrick Mahomes.
Now, Joe, are you saying that because the Chiefs haven't covered, that's what caused people to be mad at them?
Yes. During the regular season.
Yeah.
When you don't cover
Okay.
and you still win, boy, is there anything more annoying than that?
Right? Not for me. Not for me.
As a gambler.
Okay.
There's not anything more annoying than that.
So because they're not winning the way you want them to win, therefore you don't like them.
Not me. You know me.
Vegas.
I only this year did I finally take the right ticket.
Right.
That I'm sitting here going, to your point, like, well, why did it take you five Super Bowl trips to get to the right side of the ticket
I
here?
finally figured it out.
But, you know, it's interesting, though, going back to the Patriots, and we've talked a lot this basketball season about Duke being a monster.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like there are years where you win a title, but you're not a monster. And I felt like if we go back and look at the Patriots, they won at one time when Gronk was hurt and he completely outclassed Sean McVay and Goff with the headset. Right.
Yes.
And it was the lowest scoring Super Bowl.
That was my first Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I literally fell asleep in the press box.
Rams Patriots.
I'm not proud.
So they win that year with Julian Edelman basically carrying all of the mail on and Danny Woodcock and, you know, pick all of the white skill players that Belichick would love to go find.
Woodhead.
Woodcock.
The Duke
So-
basketball of the NFL. Yeah.
Yes.
But like
that's Greg Paulus action.
So they win it 6 times. That's the only time that they won it where you're like, they weren't a monster.
Right.
Right. Last year, the Chiefs were clearly not the best team in the NFL, but they were kind of sort of lucky to even like get in the playoffs last year because they were struggling. They were struggling that much.
Sure.
Right. And then this year, the record wise, we all say, yeah, best team, but
they never dominated.
Performance wise, they were never dominant.
Yeah. No, not until December.
And here's the game. Yeah. Oh, all of a sudden when they need it. Weird. But the game that truly broke my brain is the game again. And now also noticing this is the second time they're playing Philly. They played San Francisco twice.
Sure.
You know, so like I felt like other than the Giants having the Patriots number, you at least saw different challengers to the Patriots. It was kind of like, who's going to come at the king?
Yeah.
This feels like, okay, well, Jesus, Giglio, you get another turn. Okay, well, we'll really mix it up and give Ovies a turn this year.
Well, I also think baked into the frustration is that the team that people are like willing into this position would be the Bills.
Or Lamar, either one.
Or Lamar Jackson, because there's a lot of takes riding on their success. And what ends up happening is they've been beat. So there we are. So I think that's also playing into this frustration that there's a lot of people who really want to solidify. And this gets to a larger conversation. But finish your point about the Chiefs, because I think there's a larger conversation here.
The game that truly broke my brain was 57. The first game against Philly.
Yeah.
I just looked at the box score. Touchdowns were scored by Sky Moore, who has 2 Y's in his name for some strange reason.
Why not?
Him and Greg Doyle are apparently separated at birth. Kadarius Toney, also a touchdown scorer. There was a defensive touchdown. Kelsey did score, and Pacheco as a rookie from Rutgers, truly stealing a page out of Bill Belichick's playbook, getting into Rutgers guy. But in that game, Chiefs score 38 points. Mahomes finished with 182 yards passing. MVP. So that's the game. That's the official cheetah game to me.
Okay.
Like, okay, fine. You let Tyreek Hill go. You win the Super Bowl with checks notes, Sky Moore and Kadarius Toney. Interesting, though, if we want to get into a little nuts and bolts here. This is the game I've been waiting for, because it was the goal line defense that Andy Reid really put on the master class. And that's how Sky Moore got wide open on the motion plays. That's how Kadarius Toney was wide open on the motion plays, because the Eagles had no clue how to defend them on the goal line. I cannot wait tonight. And it's probably going to take me a week or so to figure it all out after it's over. You know that everyone on the Eagles staff for months and weeks and years has been replaying that Super Bowl and is going, okay, they're pulling a Belichick. They're taking the third Malcolm Butler. They're saying, okay, here comes the play. I can't wait to see what Andy Reid's counter is going to be, because you know he's not going to run the same stuff. You know he's going to have something else cooked up for them in this game. And that, is kind of the larger argument that I'm getting into with the 20-year-olds that one's my son, the rest are his friends, who claim that this is the best coach of all time. And I keep trying to tell them the best combo of all time is Brady and Belichick. No doubt.
Right.
No doubt. But you can't have a losing record with another team and be the best coach of all time. I'm sorry. You cannot be. If you're an NFL coach and you coach at another franchise and you have a losing record, you are not the greatest coach of all time. Okay?
Fair.
Andy Reid did not win a Super Bowl with the Eagles, but you could look at Andy Reid's career with the Eagles and say, that's a Hall of Fame coach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can. Yeah. Now you add what he's doing now. And I didn't realize he was about to pass Belichick for playoff wins.
Yes. Which is another reason why I'm fascinated by Belichick going to college, which is a separate conversation.
Right.
So I'm looking at this going, here's the masterclass again. Because like I said, he's not going to run the same stuff. It's Wile E. Coyote and the Roadrunner. Sirianni, who's probably not all that sharp to begin with.
He's just all vibes.
It is over there down in the basement going over the old place.
Yeah.
And Reid's going to come out and go, you were ready for the old stuff,
but even
not the new stuff.
But even when you hit them with the stuff is going to happen, they're still good at executing it. Like we saw at the end of the Buffalo game. Everybody knew they were going to blitz.
That Spags blitz was so good. That's the thing, is like, it's so easy to hate seeing people and teams succeed. But then when you just look at the Chiefs in a vacuum and let's pretend they don't come in with all of this winning baggage and everything else. This team is really fun. The coaching staff is really fun.
Yeah.
But it's just the overexposure and the constant winning that we as a society like to hate.
Let me hit you with this, because I don't disagree with you with the overexposure, but I also think it's a byproduct of the zero-sum game we now have with NFL discussions. You either win the Super Bowl or you don't. If you don't win the Super Bowl, you suck. And you can never be discussed as amongst the greats, right? We talked about this last week, and curious your thoughts on this. We'll close on this. So last week, Cam Newton caused a stir because he was on your network.
He does tend to do that, yeah.
He's the best at it. Shout out to our Blue Wire colleague, Cam Newton.
Shout out to Blue Wire. That payment hit yesterday.
Oh, nice. That's good. That's good.
So go get those Wendy's nugs, okay? And don't drink and drive.
Drinking and driving. Anyway, so Cam gets asked this question, like, would you trade that MVP for a Super Bowl? And he said, no. I don't think he did a good job explaining himself, but I understood where he was coming from, because when he started getting into the Brad Johnson has a Super Bowl, Trent Dilfer has a Super Bowl, are you saying that those guys are better than me? He's right when you say that. And we've got to this zero-sum game where we cannot talk about a quarterback objectively unless they have a ring. And we had this thought experiment. Can you imagine Dan Marino in this environment? He went to one Super Bowl, but statistically, if you watched him, he was one of, if not the best to do it of that era. Okay. But in this environment, he's basically like Justin Herbert. He'd have a Dan Marino hive, and people would dismiss him like, oh, you guys are all you tape eaters, and but winning's the thing. Can you do it in the clutch? Blah, 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 right? Not understanding, well, the reason why Dan Marino didn't really win is because he didn't have a freaking running back. And John Elway, who was in the same level with Dan Marino, having not won, finally got over because what? Oh, they had a legitimate running game. What a concept, right? So this gets us to how we talk about Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. There are a lot of people who talk about quarterbacks and pick them as though it's their favorite band. And then it becomes this, I need this to happen to validate my opinion. And without the Super Bowl, we can't just discuss, hey, man, Josh Allen makes some freaking incredible plays.
Right.
He is off the charts fantastic. Or Lamar Jackson, my goodness, like he is a must-watch QB. It just so happens they're doing this when Andy Reid is the best coach to be coaching, and Patrick Mahomes, the guy who is going to come up in the clutch every single time. It shouldn't take away from Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. And yet we have to be like, well, because, and there's so much riding on that it really does kind of paint these discussions in a way that, I don't know, it's a little too base for me. And it's frustrating to watch it unfold.
I agree with that. I think that it is very frustrating that an entire season and entire careers get reduced to one game.
Yes.
Like okay, if that's the case, then why do we even play the regular season?
Don't know.
Like, why? Just everything's the preseason, and then you draw two names out of a hat, and they get to play in the Super Bowl.
Well, because of the rest, it would be the Chiefs.
Yes, it would be the Chiefs.
It would be the Chiefs.
And the NFC can draw a name out of a hat.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it is really frustrating that this one line on a Pro Football Reference page gets used in arguments when it should just be one piece of a giant puzzle. But I mean, like when you look at even defenders like TJ Watt, how's he going to be remembered when his playing career is done? He hasn't won a playoff game.
It's different.
It is, but it isn't.
Different position.
Different position.
Yeah.
But in the same way, like, I don't think that your individual accolade and legacy should be defined by your team's biggest game.
Yeah, I agree.
And that is what happens.
All right. So what is your New Orleans plan? You go to Radio Row? You deal with that?
So here's the thing. I am going down without a credential. I'm going down just on vibes.
You're just sneaking in?
Yeah, me and Nick Sirianni. No, I'm not going to sneak in because I don't want to be arrested.
Yeah, but think of the content, Brooke.
I think I have a morality clause in my contract that says if I embarrass the company, they can fire me.
Oh, I see.
So,
well, I can give examples where I can be your lawyer for that. It's like, you think that's embarrassing? May I present to you?
See,
but anyway.
And I love that. I love that you're going to do that for me.
Or Whitaker and Hamer can do that.
They could do that too.
Yeah. WH.lawyer.
Oh, noted. I'm going to just put that in my phone for later.
Yeah. Great URL. Very handy.
There are many things going on in New Orleans outside of Radio Row.
Yeah,
there's different events, I love the vibe of the Super Bowl. I mean, it is one of those events where my personal favorite, when I have gone in the past and I've been credentialed and I'm not covering a team in it, I love the week of the Super Bowl until Friday when it's like all media people and then some team people come in. You have like the C and B list celebrities, but like it really feels like summer camp because you and your friends can just go around to like all the parties, all the bars, see everybody on Radio Row. We call it camp. Like my friend Jory and I call it camp because it feels like a big reunion. And then, I mean, like this year, I am actually leaving before the game. I'm leaving Saturday morning.
A lot of people do. People don't realize a lot of people leave
Yeah.
before the game because actually it's a better experience at home on your television
It's
anyway.
a much better experience at home. I was at the Tampa Super Bowl. The only Super Bowls that I've been to in person are the ones the Chiefs have lost. So,
Well, another reason.
whoops.
Another reason,
true.
Joe, to pick the Chiefs.
I covered the one when he lost to Brady. And the halftime show of the weekend was so weird in person. Like, I wish that I had seen it at home.
I see
Yeah.
what you're saying.
Yeah. Like, it just wasn't
I think,
the same.
That's the last time I bet on them.
I think Brooke just gave away the game. Then you're not going to get that on McAfee. McAfee's not going to give you that insight. Brooke's not there.
That's
I'm not there. It's a W.
It's a dub.
Oh, good. You're not going to be there.
She's not gonna be there.
I'm not
Oh, okay.
going to be there.
Yeah, she's not going to be there. That's
I will
that's
be.
key.
Oh, here's the other thing. I have been doing the live blogs for ESPN for some of our big games.
Mhm.
I did the Super Bowl last year. I did the Super Bowl the year before. I did the season opener this year, Chiefs Ravens, and I did the AFC Championship this year. Chiefs are 4-0 when I live blog.
Dude,
them,
these are stats.
so-
These are stats. Yeah, these
and
are
I'm live
stats that
blogging this year.
you're not going to get these stats anywhere else. Take that, McAfee.
See, I was worried about Andy Reid and outsmarting Nick.
No.
Nope. Don't.
No, it's purely on
pure
his
Brooke.
Saquon Barkley
Yeah.
because
Nope.
the Bills ran the ball so well against the Chiefs that
Yeah.
Pure Brooke.
No,
You know,
it's
Let's go. We're
all-
here.
I control the Chiefs' fate. So I don't know what else to tell you. And the last I have covered one Chiefs playoff game in person, but my first Chiefs playoff game was when they lost to the Patriots in overtime of the AFC Championship.
Are your
in
hands
person.
warm yet from that game? Yeah.
No,
It's freezing
that
cold.
was very cold.
Anyway, that's going to wrap it up. Brooke, thanks for hanging out. Have fun in New Orleans.
Can't wait.
Joe, I'm very excited. I got the notification that my new sweatpants are on the way from home field. They arrived today.
You know, you accused me of falling in love and going overboard with certain things. I feel like this sweatpant fad that you're going through is very Giglio-esque.
Look, man, at home, I'm just letting it all hang out. Sweatpants, I'm in my Birkenstocks, I'm in my undershirt. I'm a sight to be seen. Comfort is the key here. So go to homefieldapparel.com. Not only do they have great sweatpants and hoodies, I finally saw those retro hockey sweater hoodies.
Oh, I have not seen those.
Dude, I'm waiting for an ACC drop. I need some ACC drops, man. I mean, I was just at
You can check that out.
I was at Lenovo for the Ice Pack UNC Governor's Cup game on Sunday.
Mhm.
I mean, I need some of that in my life. Let's make this go. But anyway, all sorts of good stuff. They're dropping all sorts of heat at homefieldapparel.com. Use that promo code OG24 to save 15% off your order. Big thanks to our friends at Happy and Hale. A lot of people are, coming off a dry January, which means that you have to find different ways to make better choices in your life. Well, that's Happy and Hale. Check them out online. And we have a promo code now, Joe.
We do OG25.
Mm-hmm.
You get 25% off your first order when you go to the Happy and Hale app. Now, remember, you already get a free smoothie just for signing up on the Happy and Hale app. And if it's within a month of your birthday, even if it just passed, you get a free bowl for your birthday. So you have all kinds of reasons to go to the Happy and Hale and use the app. And then you can also come see us on Thursday. We'll be in North Hills. So come see us. We'll be out there at noon. It will be an early edition of OG Live.
Very excited about that.
Take a break. Let's take a hockey break. Brought to you by Happy and Hale.
The Canes need a break from the norovirus.
Yeah, the Canes need some chicken soup for the soul here.
Jeez, man. When the whole team is questionable. Dang, dude. Dang. Big fan. No question with Breeze Through. Great coffee, awesome beer cave, great snacks, and of course, gas. Very key. Thanks to Breeze Through. Check them out online, breezethrough.com. Download their app, and you can start saving money on gas. New segment alert. New segment alert. New segment alert. Hot and cold, Joe.
No one in the history of radio has ever done a hot and cold segment. So congratulations to us for once again breaking new ground and coming up with yet another one, DJ Khaled.
If you hear any other sports talk talking about a hot and cold of the weekend or a hot and cold of the day, understand it came from us. Nobody's ever done a hot and cold segment before in the history of sports talk.
It all starts here, and it all starts with our friends from 1-800-PLUMBER+AIR. Joe, crowning achievement of our professional careers. Anybody can podcast on a Monday. Anybody can sell pizza. Anybody can sell wings. Heck, anybody can sell a mortgage. You know what is actually useful for the people? Do you know how many times I've needed a plumber? I'm talking about like the last year, let alone the 20 years of being a homeowner. You know how many times I've needed someone to help me with my HVAC?
Yeah.
A lot. Okay. So thanks to our friends at 1-800-PLUMBER+AIR, the OG Hayes Lancaster comes through again.
Once again, 1-800-PLUMBER.com.
Again.
Hassle-free scheduling.
Yes.
Upfront pricing, which is very important to people like me.
Yes.
Hey, we're like, what's going on here? No. This is the price. Cool. Thank you. And of course, it's really easy because their name is in the number, 1-800-PLUMBER. And of course, 24/7 emergency service for peace of mind.
The key.
That's the key. Because
Right
I've needed
there,
that
man.
too. I've needed that too.
This is a classic Giglio. Oh, I can fix that toilet. Oh, I can replace that. The thing in your sink. What's it called? Crunches it up. The disposal.
Yeah.
Oh, I could do that.
No, you can't,
buddy. No. Oh, the washing machine is not connected properly. Joe, know your limitations. You can podcast on a Tuesday. That's your strength. At 1-800-PLUMBER+AIR, they can help you with all of these other things.
So I was having this realization as we're doing the segment. We need Brian over at Nice Price to give us like his variation on hot.
Or Katy Perry.
Yeah. But or hot and cold. Yeah. We do that. We need variation on that. But I'm thinking hot. And then it was cold as ice.
I don't like to poison the pool with Brian. I just let him
cook.
Yeah.
You're right. Just let him cook. just let Brian cook. We'll see what he comes up with so we can have some sounders to go along with this hot and cold segment. Let's actually start with the hot. The hot of Monday that's not related to Duke and Carolina, that's not related to the Super Bowl. It would be Luka Doncic getting traded from the Mavericks to the Lakers for Anthony Davis. And there's other components to this, but really it's a 1-for-1. We're giving you Luka, we get AD, and we all move on with our life. And it's breaking a lot of people's brains. And I had like 5 initial thoughts when I saw the news. My first thought was, look at the NBA trying to take some heat off of the Carolina Hurricanes. The Carolina Hurricanes were the first ones to make this big freaking deal.
Yeah, you're
like,
right.
Oh my goodness, you never see this in the NHL.
We can't let the Hurricanes have the spotlight.
I bet you ESPN made the call. Like, hey, Adam Silver, we cannot let the Hurricanes.
We can't let the former Whalers
do this.
Take this shine.
So that was my first thought. It was like, man, we just spent this whole week where all the NHL knowers were like, my goodness, never happens. You don't understand how big of a deal this is. So the NBA said, hold my beer, much like Luka wanted to hold a beer, right? So they do that. So this gets my second thought. Adrian Wojnarowski, I want to know what he thought when all this was breaking through. Like, did he have is it more, you tell me what this was more likely to happen for Adrian Wojnarowski, who's now at St. Bonaventures and he's given up the life. I actually have 3. He is like Arnold Schwarzenegger in Commando, where he's retired special forces or whatever, and he's just living a very quiet life out in a cabin, chopping wood with Alyssa Milano, okay, as his daughter. And then the chopper shows up, and we're like, we need you back. So I had that. Or is it more like Al Pacino, Godfather Part 3, with the very famous, every time I think I'm out, they pull me back in? Or is it Michael Keaton, Batman Returns, where he's all super sad in his mansion, and then the bat signal hits, and you see him go like, I've been called upon again. I want to know what Woj thinks about a deal like this happening, not on his watch.
This is easily the most bizarre trade in all of professional sports to ever happen.
Okay.
Luka Doncic is at worst, the 3rd best, most valuable player in all of the NBA.
Yeah.
There are only 2 teams that I could see you calling and getting a hard no from. One would be the Spurs. Hey, we want to trade you Luka for Wemby. Nah, I'm good. I'm sorry. Or Denver with Jokic saying, hey man, guys, we really want, no, I'm good. Every other player every other team, every other player in the league, you could call and be like, hey, we want to give you. Yes. Everyone says yes. Like automatically says yes.
Which gets the third thought. How much the Dallas Mavericks look at Luka and go, we are sick and tired of you being not invested, out of shape.
They
what
clearly
is
think
it?
he's fat and out of shape.
Yeah.
All I could say to you is get him a chef, get him a trainer. He's such an unbelievable talent and player that it makes no sense. If you're going, because this is not a contract issue.
No.
This is not, he requested, to anyone's knowledge, that he requested to be out of there.
It's came out of nowhere.
This makes no sense for this very specific reason. A, you could have gotten a whole lot more in terms of a building block than a 31-year-old Anthony Davis, who is also continually and always hurt, right? Or we just saw Mikal Bridges the Knicks gave up 5 first-round picks to get Mikal Bridges. Rudy Gobert fetched 5 first-round picks. Not only did you only get 1 first-round pick from the Lakers, they had another that you weren't even like, and you didn't even bother to be like, hey, Dalton Connect is actually really good. And we could replace one white scorer with another one. Yeah. Like you didn't even do that. So it's like, it is the weirdest trade. It was so surreal that even if Woj had been the one to break the news, Shams Charania really, honest to truly, had to come out and be on video to say, no, I have not been hacked. No, this is real. Not fake. Yeah. This is a real trade that has just happened. Like, it's so bizarre.
Which then gets to my fourth thought as I saw the headline and I was trying to I jotted these down because I'm like, what were the things that went through my brain? All right, so the fourth thought was more big picture in relation to look at the Lakers understanding, hey, well, wait, like say what you want about Luka. They're looking at the sunsetting career of LeBron James.
Yeah.
And I don't know if this necessarily makes the Lakers a cup contender, back in Kane's mode. I don't know if it makes them a NBA championship contender just because they brought Luka on. Now, it certainly solves a scoring problem for
They need to make
Lakers.
another move for a big, but they will.
So they have until what? The end of I think the 6th is the trade deadline.
They got plenty of time.
They got time. So
you're also going to have players bought out. That'll more likely be the move that ends up happening.
So I don't know what this necessarily does for the Lakers right now, but it does indicate that here's a guy at 25 whose future is in front of him. The Lakers have the next guy that they can be focused on, We
talk a lot about blue bloods in college basketball, and are they really just, is it the program or is it the coach? The Lakers are the gold standard of, from Kareem to Magic to Kobe, Shaq, LeBron, and now Luka Doncic. They are Jerry West, even before that, Wilt before that. They are the gold standard. Them and the Boston Celtics are the gold standard of, no, it's the franchise. And this was an amazing. Rob Pelinka thought it was a joke.
Yeah,
he literally thought it was a joke.
Yeah,
like I mean, to hear Nico Harrison, the Mavs GM, have this press conference and like say with a straight face, this makes us a better basketball team.
It's pretty wild.
They were just in the NBA finals. Like Luka Doncic almost won a gold medal in the Olympics by himself. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, but
like,
Joe, here's the problem with that, though. Here's the problem. What did you send me? You sent me this from Max Brados, another Cuban out here in the media content.
This was it, man.
My guy.
This is the one. This is from when they won the West last year.
Yeah.
And we at the time we were like, oh no, they're just not letting them celebrate because there's still work to be done.
So Brados had put on Instagram, true story, I predicted Luka trade 8 months ago. I remember when this happened before the NBA Finals. I texted my group and I said, you never take a beer out of another man's hands, especially after achieving something great. He knew then his time in Dallas was coming to an end. Here we are, Luka now with the Lakers. And yeah, he's just chilling with a beer. They're off to the finals and just, hey, yeah, I'm going to take that from you. You're done. And the look on Luka's face was like, excuse me, what?
Yeah.
Excuse me, what? And his shoulder shrugs it off.
Like,
excuse me?
I told you everything they need to know. Yeah, apparently they think he's fat and out of shape, and there's no hope for a 25-year-old to get into shape. Like,
which then gets to the fifth and final thought that I had. When we look back on this and he's in the best shape of his life, we can now look at this as the Luka villain origin story.
Yeah.
This is where we're at.
I can't think of a better example of to be with someone than LeBron James.
Yeah.
You know, like if I wish Zion Williamson, to be perfectly honest with you, had a chance to be exposed to him and could do something with his career. But it's such a weird deal by Dallas. There is no comparison. You know, I saw one video trying to explain to people what they did, and it really would be like trading Josh Allen for Matthew Stafford.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, he's good,
but yeah. All right, to the cold. It's got to be Drake.
Yeah,
it's cold. It's cold out here. It's cold world for Drake. All right.
Yeah.
And as Brooke said, never let anybody tell you that your hate's never to get you anywhere. Absolutely not. Because Kendrick Lamar just got 5 Grammys, and he had a crowd of industry people going A minor in that situation. So,
all while wearing
a full-on denim Canadian tuxedo.
Yeah.
Okay. So we start the week with Kendrick winning 5 Grammys. We're going to end the week with Kendrick
it's not over.
at the Super Bowl.
Yes.
Okay. And Kendrick is very diabolical with his hateration, and it's impressive. I'm in awe. I am in awe at the level of achievement Kendrick has put himself into through sheer hate of an individual on an artistic level. Okay.
And think of the mistake Drake is making by being so silent and going into hiding the way that he has.
He actually has not. Remember, he sued his own record label.
Oh, because
he was convinced it was all a conspiracy to get at him, and it only made him look worse in the process. So you got he keeps taking L after L after L, and it all culminates in the Super Bowl on Sunday. And the NFL's got a really interesting issue on their hands for Sunday. Because the whole premise of Not Like Us is to target an individual with accusations of some very unsavory things. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how you're going to clean that up because the people want this. The people want an entire Super Bowl crowd to chant A minor along with the whole mustard and everything else, right? So it's going to be really weird on Sunday if he doesn't do Not Like Us.
You know, there are gambling odds that Drake will appear at the halftime.
No, there's
show.
no way.
I'm just telling you.
There's no way.
It's a real thing that you can bet on.
Nah, there's no way that's going to happen. There's no way that's going to happen. So the cold,
Speaking of the call coming from inside the building.
So he sues at UMG. I mean, it is just bad. I don't know how you recover from this. I don't know how your career recovers from this.
I would have advised him to come out right away with another song. Doesn't have to be about that. You just got to get back on the horse, man.
Well, you got to do
He has not gotten back on the horse.
You got to do what Kendrick told you to do. I like it when you're out here making me dance and making me wave my hands.
Yeah.
Drop a banger.
Yep.
Just give me another pop radio friendly hit, dude.
Yeah.
Come on now. Just give that to me. It's bad for Drake right now. Speaking of odds, not going to get that on DraftKings, but what you will get on DraftKings, Super Bowl 59 odds. Get in on the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of Super Bowl 59. Scoring touchdowns, easy way to have some fun on Sunday while you're dipping that buffalo dip and you're knocking back some cold ones. And obviously scoring touchdowns, very key to making sure that you secure the Vince Lombardi trophy. And you have a shot to score big by betting on those touchdowns at DraftKings Sportsbook. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. If you haven't done it already, use that promo code OG24. Again, that's OG24. New customers will get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings, an official sports betting partner of Super Bowl 59. Joe, the crown is yours. You have not cashed out that ticket, have you? For the Chiefs?
No, that's I had an exacta for the two of them. I had an exacta for the Eagles and Chiefs to reach the Super Bowl. Nice. Mm-hmm. And then I have an exacta, the Chiefs to beat the Eagles.
Okay.
So I got one leg down, need this second leg to come home.
Gotcha.
My play for the Super Bowl is to take Patrick Mahomes to win the MVP. The game line right now is -125. And you can get Mahomes at plus money to be the MVP. If the Chiefs win, he is going to be the MVP.
All right. Use that promo code OG24. Bet $5. You'll get $200 in bonus bet.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bet must win to receive reward. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ftball.
Big thanks to our friends Hayes, once again, with Mosquito Authority and Pest Authority. He's got you all covered, man. So go to Mosquito Authority, Pest Authority at bugsbite.com. You can take care of the interior of your house, things like a moisture barrier with Pest Authority. And I think we're hitting the 70s right now. Spring's right around the corner here in North Carolina, which also means the mosquitoes are going to start getting active before you know it. So go ahead and start planning for that now with all sorts of different systems, including a misting system that will keep the mosquitoes at bay on your porch or your patios. All that stuff at bugsbite.com. Big thanks to Two Roosters. It was a very successful National Ice Cream for Breakfast Saturday.
Dude, Jared outdoes himself every single time. It's just amazing. But at the risk of creating work for our friends at Two Roosters, the line was like, they were packed over on Person Street.
Yeah.
Packed. I was like, you guys might have to start being open on Saturday morning. Might need to be a thing.
Might have to be.
Because it was the Blueberry Biscuit.
It was too good.
Oh my God.
It was too good.
He's so good.
In the meantime, you can still enjoy some of these flavors throughout the month. And of course, you have their spots at Lenovo Center, so you get the Slavin Sunday as well. Now, if you're eating all that ice cream, look, there's one way to make up for it. Just go visit our friends over at O2 Fitness.
Make good choices.
Make good choices with our friends over at O2 Fitness. Big thanks to O2FitnessClubs.com. Again, they are more than just a gym. Location matters. They got great locations. The equipment matters. Top of the line equipment. The staff matters. Incredibly helpful. Super, super nice. They're going to help you on this fitness journey. And of course, being more than just a gym, it's about making great decisions for everything, including Renew Physiotherapy and Loop Nutrition. So you go in there like, hey, man, I just had like a whole day's worth of ice cream.
And personal trainers.
Yes.
You know?
How do I?
You might think, I got my internet fitness degree.
No.
Wait a second. I did these 4 exercises and circuits when I was 24 years old. That'll be good for me at 50, right?
Nope.
No.
So go to O2FitnessClubs.com. Lightning Round brought to you by Sam Jones Barbecue. Check them out in downtown Raleigh. Great spot for a lunch meeting. A great spot for just a night out, heading downtown. And a great spot to cater. Because the Super Bowl's coming up. You need food. Get that spread from Sam Jones.
The beans, the mac and cheese, the barbecue.
All great stuff. So we appreciate Sam Jones for sponsoring the Lightning Round. All right. This mini version of the Lightning Round is a segment I like to call, What Did Joe Come Across on His Algorithm This Weekend?
Good stuff.
Yeah. Basically, it's like my phone starts pinging at all hours of the day. Sometimes it's at 11 o'clock at night. Sometimes it's 4 o'clock in the morning. All right. What did the algorithm feed Joe today? So let's start with Matt. You are in the Matt Rule algo, dude.
Yeah.
Why do you always get Matt Rule and stuff?
I don't know, but I like this one because this is a topic that we had talked about last year when Mac Brown decided, there's no real reason for me to have a spring game and let people pick over, let's just say, like my third string quarterback or some of these other positions of players that aren't playing because remember, the stupid portals is still open.
So here's Matt Rule.
Yet, but I'll be honest with you, I highly doubt it. And I think it's really fundamentally, I hate to say it like this, it's really because last year we're one of the more televised. We were one of the more televised spring games, and I dealt with a lot of people offering our players a lot of opportunities after that. So to go out and bring in a bunch of new players and then showcase them for all the other schools to watch, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. The word tampering doesn't exist anymore. It's just absolute free, open, common market, and so I don't necessarily want to open up to the outside world. I don't want these guys all being able to watch our guys and say, wow, he looks like a pretty good player. Let's go get him.
I get where he's coming from.
Yeah.
I don't disagree. But here's my thing. You're basically acting as though all these other teams are negotiating against themselves. So what I would ask in these situations, just like I would ask of Mac Brown too, when he was openly lamenting, like, well, why would I put this all on display? Well, then how do you guys identify your portal talent? Where do you not offer guys in this situation? Do you not watch other spring games? Or is it just a matter of, well, we're so far ahead of where you guys are that we're going to shut ours off because our players are so valuable that we're going to have to cut it off, as though they're also not in the game of the portal.
There's no structure to any of this, though. That's the real problem.
No, you're right about that.
You know, talking to these coaches, they all have a big messaging problem because of your reaction. You know, you're looking at it going, okay, Matt, you're kind of being an asshole, but they're not. And that's their problem is there's no way for them to even make lucid points about how just complete chaos all of this stuff is.
Mm-hmm.
Especially in football, where the stupid window is open forever, and you're just sitting there going, "How many times are we going to let these guys leave and go, come and go?"
If I'm at North Carolina right now, though, with Bill Belichick, I'm absolutely using this. Well, you know, we don't want anybody to see anything because of the portal and all that kind of stuff. Because right now, there's interesting messaging coming out of Chapel Hill. Do we know what's going on Wednesday?
I'm not sure. Day? I'm not sure. I'm sure he'll be on, or one of them will be on with
McAfee.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, that's interesting. That's new and kind of uncharted territory. A little bit bizarre.
What is it? English Premier League?
Yeah.
I mean, that's where they are.
Okay, cool. All right, and then like spring ball starts up here pretty soon.
Well, he said in a month. Bill did on his last. Do
you have dates for that? Do we know like what the plan is?
No, it doesn't matter. It's not information we need.
Okay, I am simply presenting to you.
I think you get 15 practices is how it works. You could do it however you want. Dave Doran likes to do them every other day for like 2 or 3 weeks, then take a week off, and then come back and do the spring game in the first week of April.
So the reason why I bring this up is that this is a continued argument that I will make throughout the year as it relates to what's going on in Chapel Hill with Bill Belichick. There is a cadence to the football season, the college football season. There is a cadence to how coaches approach the college football season, including the offseason. And we're not seeing any of that cadence really coming out of Chapel Hill. This is going one of two ways. Either there's an information black hole around Tar Heel football under Bill Belichick because he's just replicating what we saw in the NFL with Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots, which was an information black hole.
Yeah. Don't ever forget, Jim Harbaugh didn't want to release a roster.
Totally get that. No, I get that.
Yeah.
I understand there's an information black hole. Or it's so disorganized over there.
I don't think it's that.
I don't know.
Yeah. I don't think it's that.
I am simply presenting the two options that are unfolding in Chapel Hill. It's either information black hole or it's kind of disorganized and there's going to be some catching up to do. I am just simply throwing it out there as something to think about. All right, this is next in the Joe Giglio was scrolling on Facebook and on what is this? What do we got here? We got Pete Carroll.
This
Facebook
is Michael,
games with names.
This is speaking of Bill Belichick. This is Michael Bennett, former player for the Seahawks and the Patriots, sharing his thoughts on Bill Belichick on when he got to the Patriots.
Yeah,
and the difference between Bill Belichick and
I see
Pete smacking that gum.
Gotcha.
He never really called out like Russell on certain things, but Bill will call him out on everything. How's a guy who's been the MVP 4 times, that's won the championship 6 times, throw this fucking route right here? It's like you have never seen it before, Tom, and you just back there like, dang, going off on Tom Brady right now.
Let you know everyone's on limits.
Yeah, and I remember the first meeting in preseason, Bill came in there, and it was like one of those things where it was like, I think he was just setting the stage to tell everybody, if you question me, shut the fuck up. But basically, because he was like, here's my credentials. Basically, it was 20 years of winning this, like 17 deep. You remember it was like all the stats of all the things, and you were like, it's like, so I know what I'm talking about. And I was like, yeah, he does. He like that. That's it right there. You're right. He know. Hey, if we listen to him in Seattle.
That's really good.
Note what he's wearing.
What was he wearing?
Bill in the picture, standing in front of the sleeveless hoodie.
Yeah, he's wearing the sleeveless hoodie. Okay.
I still don't get the glow up.
Yeah, it might be the girlfriend. You know, glow him up. That's what happens. I mean, we've all seen divorced dad energy before.
Sure.
So.
Hey, he is a man of the people, though, Joe.
I know
he bought pizzas for the fraternities,
just for the fraternities.
Yes,
true man of the people by sending it to the fraternities. Got it. I'll say this: the whole Tom Brady, because this has been brought up. He went after Tom Brady and all that kind of stuff. This is a classic coach star player trope that they're both in on.
Yeah,
in that Belichick has to No. Follow me here. I think this is true when it comes to Belichick. And I actually, the people who are making a big deal is like, he's going to do this with a star quarterback. Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? The relationship with Brady and Belichick is one that only they know.
Correct.
Super, super competitive. I get that stuff. But in the long history of coach and star player at any level, pro, college, NBA, college, you are going to get a situation where the coach is going to tell the star player ahead of time, hey, man, I'm going to rip you a new one, just so you know, publicly in front of everybody, so that they know nobody is above it. That if he's ripping, like Brooks just said, and he's ripping this guy, well then hell, what am I going to say? If he's ripping Tom Brady and roasting his ass, how am I going to get mad at Bill Belichick for roasting me? What have I done?
Right.
So that's an old trope in the locker room that makes a lot of sense. Now, can you do that in college without, I don't know what the dynamic is going to be. Who knows? But I can tell you right now, the whole oh man, he's ripping Tom Brady. I'm like, that's all part of the game. That's coaching. And finally, speaking of coaching, this is the last one. I guess I knew that there was an Arizona State fracas, a Donnybrook.
But was it really Arizona State? Or was it the capital R rivalry?
Is this a Caleb Love, Bobby Hurley showdown? Is that what this was?
Tar Heel for life meets the Brotherhood.
So Bobby, after the game, says this in relation.
Well, more context.
Give me more context.
Caleb Love was headbutted by one of the Arizona State players at the end of the game.
Yes.
And instead of staying on the floor and having the team shake hands and all this other stuff, Bobby Hurley took all of his players off of the floor except the 5 playing. And then when the game was over, made sure everybody went they were at home.
Yeah.
This wasn't Carolina at Florida State.
This was
they were at home. No one was going to rush the floor.
No handshake.
He made
line.
sure that nobody shook hands because Caleb Love apparently was talking trash the whole game.
Yep.
And he said basically he deserved to be headbutted by his player because it wasn't policed by Arizona. So then he added this as he was getting ready to end the press conference.
For all conference, and I can tell you who's not getting a vote.
And he walks off.
I can tell you this: I have a vote for all conference, and I can tell you who's not getting a vote. He saw those shoes 2 years ago.
Oh man, Tar Heel for life. That really is the rivalry, is it not? All right, let's get out of here on some Hey Joe. We can go back to the OG sports phone because people still have takes on what happened Saturday between Duke and Carolina, the capital R rivalry. So let's go back to the sports phone, shall we?
919-444-2211. Call the OG sports phone and curse or don't.
All right, let's go to this one from a 336.
Hey, Joe. This is Kevin from Charlotte. I'm a UNC grad. Was just listening to last night's live show and hearing the sports phone calls from UNC fans. Just wanted to talk about Hubert. It's fair to question Hubert. I watched the game. I'm frustrated too. I think if you just take away the coach, the team, and you just say, hey, XYZ coach has 2 first-rounders and last year's conference player of the year, and it looks like it does, and you miss the tournament, it's fair to question. At the same time, it's just like 22, 1 seed last year. He swept Duke last year. So the idea of getting, rid of Hubert right now just feels kind of crazy to me. And then hear UNC fans call in and be like, "Oh, this is my first UNC game I haven't watched in 30 years. And I named my daughter James Worthy, and I'm disgusted." It's just like, hey, turn on the 22 highlights. Appreciate the sweep last year. One more year is not somehow not justified. So appreciate you guys.
That 336 number.
I apologize.
Did I get some sort of voice scrambler?
Yeah, I apologize to our listeners who mimic you and I when we go into the let's do somebody else's voice, whether it's your high-pitched one or my Colin Cowherd. It reminds me a lot of Apple, right? We apologize. We apologize for that. That was a good call. I enjoyed that call.
I do like that the guy named his daughter's name, Paige. That's pretty creative if you think about it.
I think if that was Ernie, if that's the actual Ernie that I know, he's a bit of a spoof.
Oh, okay.
Next up.
Ovies and Giglio, Zach from Cary here. I want to share a few thoughts I had about last night's Duke UNC game. As a lifelong Duke fan, I want to throw out the record books when it comes to this game. Those moments are what make the rivalry fun, and last night wasn't that. It was an entirely predictable outcome. While I enjoyed Duke's play during the game, it won't lead to any of the timeless highlight reel clips either. I mean, at least when Zion played, his shoe exploded. On to Cooper Flagg. Go back to March 9th, 2024, the last time Duke and UNC played in Cameron. It wasn't that Duke failed to show up, but they got beat by the heels for the second time that season, and it was clear they didn't have enough for a comeback. Cooper Flagg was sitting behind the bench with the rest of the incoming freshmen and heard the fans calling his name. I imagine two things happened. First, Flagg got a taste of a passionate fan base calling his name, and he was hooked. Secondly, Flagg saw how embarrassing it was for his team to get so outplayed that the fans in Cameron were calling for a high schooler to suit up. He saw the faces of Filipowski and McCain, and he wasn't going to let that happen to him on his night in Cameron playing on that specific stage. He wasn't going to get embarrassed in front of his high school rival, Cameron Bruiser, or his twin brother, Caden. He had last night circled on his calendar, and he showed up. Too bad UNC didn't. Maybe Belichick can get some calendars from the athletic department so all the teams know when they're expected to perform. But I want to be clear. I want UNC to show up. I want them to have enough respect for who they are and what they're playing for to come to the games and make it competitive. I want them to prepare. I want them to have a plan. I want them to gloat when they win. I want them to get a boot in their ass from their coach and their fan base when they shit the bed like they have been. And I want to beat them more than almost anything. But beating them means less when they are who they are this year. I want them to figure it out so our victory over them tastes that much sweeter. I know it won't ever be ending a GOAT's career good, but I want them to hold up their end of the bargain, because right now they're letting everyone down. All right, that's it. Thanks, guys.
Good call. Good level-headed way of seeing this, and also understanding what these two teams. It's one thing that I always go back to, and I can say that Carolina Duke has gotten a little too cordial, had gotten a little too respectful, and that's a byproduct of both Mike Krzyzewski and Roy Williams and where they were. But they also understood what those two teams meant to each other when it meant for the majority of college basketball, right? So each one drives the other. So yeah, I could see where a Duke fan's like, yeah, man, I really enjoy beating you, but let's beat you when you're at a level that makes a lot more sense. That's more becoming of what these two teams and what this rivalry is. Totally understand where that phone call is coming from. All right, this one, I forgot. I don't have the area code for this one, but let's go.
Hey guys, Chris here. Just got done listening to the After Dark a day later, but just wanted to touch on something that you guys didn't quite get to, and that's okay. I know you had time constraints, and I thought all your analysis was very fair on both sides on the After Dark, but one thing I think you failed to mention, talking about the freshmen, and I understand it was garbage time, kind of, but Drake Powell coming in the second half and saying, hey, coach, I'm here. I should probably be starting in front of Cadeau. I should probably be the energy guy, the lone defensive guy that can flash and occasionally hit a couple threes. I thought he came in and did a fantastic job in the second part of the second half, even though it was a little bit of garbage time. But I want to get your guys' thoughts on how he played and kind of if there's any credit to be deserved there. Thanks, guys. Love the show.
That one's tough. For instance, Josh Graham over at WSJS. Joe's already making a smirk, and we'll close on this. I don't know why Josh decided to start his, Graham cracker take or whatever he calls his segment on YouTube, where he's like, what if I told you that, Carolina out-rebounded Duke and that they shot 60 some odd % in the second half and all this other stuff, I don't know what he was trying to spin there, but like the game, the point was the game was over in the first 10 minutes. And I get what the caller's point is. And I don't know if using Powell's minutes in the second half in a decided game is where you want to make the point. Where I would take it and where I see where you're going with this is that Hubert Davis needs to have his team. Okay, there's still like some weird remnant parts of the Roy Williams era bleeding into whatever. Whereas opposed to Duke, it's a clean break. You know what this is what's happening with John Shire. And I know that Hubert Davis recruited all those guys. He was part of it. It's not the same. It's not the same. It's like the old Rod Brindamore was an assistant with these bad. No. It wasn't Rod's team. Okay, he was an assistant. At the end of the day, it was Roy's team. So I do wonder if Hubert Davis could go back. If we gave him an opportunity, hey, Hubert, here's the deal. We're going to Men in Black memory wipe this with the pen, and we're going to take you back to the beginning of the season. Would you do it differently? Like, would you put Ian Jackson and Powell in a position to take over so that when you got to this game, which was really decided by freshmen, in a position to succeed? RJ Davis in the same boat. Hey, man, sure you wanted to come back for this other year? You sure you wanted to do
here,
that?
At least. Yeah, I mean, he could have made a lot of money playing for someone else.
Anywhere.
Too. Yeah.
Anywhere. You sure you wanted to come back here, though?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I like the call in this sense. We talked a lot, John's first year, about how we know what K would do, right?
Yes.
Duke went over to State. They got run out of the place, and we were like, this is a next game. The next day, K would take away their jerseys. He'd lock them out of the locker room. We know his response, right? And we're getting into that territory here with Hubert. Like, okay, even though it's year 4, like, what are you going to do? We know that Dean Smith, Roy Williams, they would have found, Roy would have had a practice the next day that he was allowed to, which is the NCAA says you have 1 day off. So my guess is today was their day off. You go back the next day, and they told Theo had this. I think it was Felton told the story about how they lost to Clemson in the ACC tournament 1 year. The year they won the championship. The next time they practiced, they did not have a basketball. They did not have a rim.
Yes, the old rims.
There were
off
no
the
baskets.
basketboards.
Yeah, it was just we're going to run and we're going to play defense. That's it. We're slide our feet, and that's it. And we're going to run, and you're going to throw up, and that's it. So I look at the, and Roy has said, I didn't do that at the end of my career. I think yesterday would have been a day for Hubert to go into the practice and say, no one is starting. I'm going to base the next game of the 5 hardest players who do whatever your physical double dare challenge was on Sunday.
Yep.
And if it's 5 walk-ons, you show up at their next game with 5 walk-ons.
Yep.
And we've seen them do that before. We've seen Mike Krzyzewski start Patrick Davidson to annoy Chris Paul. Specifically to foul him, right? I think you got to pull one of those stunts. It's probably too late for this team. Like, I resisted the urge on Friday night to talk to Marcus Ginyard about the 2010 team, but there's your parallel. That 2010 team had some good older players back, but it did not jive with the good younger players that were on this team. That's where this team is. This Carolina team is.
Yeah.
And I don't know if there's anything to be done, just as in 2010, there was nothing to be done. You pointed out it was 82-50, right? I mean,
sometimes it just works out that way.
Sometimes it happens. Sometimes you miss. And I think that's just where Carolina is.
Big thanks to our friends at the Butcher's Market. They sponsor the mailbag. They will make sure that you have a great spread on Sunday. So go to thebutchersmarkets.com.
It might even be super.
It could. You could say it's super. So check them out, thebutchersmarkets.com. And maybe you come out of this Super Sunday and you realize, you know what? My house is not big enough to cater and host another one of these parties.
Don't mention that on Sunday. Yeah.
So you go to Hometown
But if you
Realty.
need to.
If you need to. I won't give Jessica any ideas. So you go to my hometown realty, myhtr.com, and they can help you find that next house to host the best parties ever. Again, that's myhtr.com. That was a bit of a super show today. We thank you for listening, and we will see you tomorrow.